thing that we are going to talk about is administration. The Sultan dominated the central government as he was the head of the state. The Sultan acted as a chief executive and highest court of appeal too. He appointed many ministers to look after the Sultanate. Some of them were Diwani Wazarat or Wazir. He was the head of the department and looked after the finance and the entire central administration, like the current prime minister. The second minister was Diwani Urz. He was the head of the military administration and organized the military, conducted inspections, and maintained complete discipline in the state. He was like the present defense minister. The third minister was Diwani Insha. He was in charge of the entire correspondence of the state with the rulers of their independent, stated, and his subordinate officials. The chief Barid. Barids were the spies. They were the eyes and the ears of the Sultan. Qazi ul Quzat. He was the head of the judiciary, like the present Chief Justice of Supreme Court. Wakil Idar. He looked after the personal comfort of the Sultan and his family. He also looked after karkhanas, which produced goods required by the royal family and maintained proper records. Now let's have a look at the society of that time. Indian society was mainly divided into two classes, Hindus and Muslims. The Muslims were the ruling class in the Islamic State. The Muslims were divided into two categories, Sunni Muslims and Shia Muslims. And the Muslims enjoyed a higher economic status. During this system, slave system was very popular. Firoz Tughlaq alone had 1,80,000 slaves. The condition of the women in this period was not quite good. Polygamy was practiced by Muslims and widows could remarry only in Muslim religion, but Hindus prohibited widow remarriage. Hinduism was a predominant religion but was economically backward because they were not given high posts and posts in the Sultanate. The Hindu society was based on caste system. The Hindu society suffered from many evils like sati pratha, child marriage, ban on widow remarriage and female education, etc. And intercaste marriages were also not allowed. Now let's have a look at the economy during the Sultanate period. So since agriculture, which was dependent on rain, canals and wells were also used for irrigation, and Firoz Tughlaq constructed many canals that proved helpful for agriculture. The farmers led a life of poverty and misery because the main industries were spinning, weaving, sugar production, handicrafts, pottery, and jewel making. Some of the sultans patronized art and craft. They had their own karkhanas where all the fancy and luxury goods were manufactured for the royal family. India had a flourishing internal and foreign trade which was carried on both by sea and by land. So India exported rice, spices, indigo, textiles, silk and sandalwood, and India imported horses, wine, high-grade textile, glassware, raw silk, etc. Now let's have a look at a religion during the Delhi Sultanate period. During this period, Hinduism was the popular religion. It was followed by the majority of people and were divided into two branches, Vaishnavism and Shaivism. Jainism and Buddhism were also practiced by some people. Islam was mainly brought to India by Mahmud Ghazni and Muhammad Ghori. The Islamic people believed in one God, whereas Hindus worshipped many gods. Sufism and Bhakti movements also started during this period. Now let's have a look at the language and literature during the Sultanate period. During this period, Khari Boli and Braj Bhasha became the literary languages as prose and poetry was written in these languages. On the other hand, the Muslims used a mixture of Persian and Arabic in their courts. The introduction of historical literature was an important contribution of this time. Ziauddin Barani was a famous historian, wrote Tarikh-i-Firoz Shahi. Amir Khusro was the well-known literary genius of this period. He was not only an outstanding poet but also a music composer and historian. The local languages like Bengali and Gujarati were used in many of the states of the Sultanate. Bhakti and Sufi saints used local languages for their preachings. Urdu also developed during this period, which was a mixture of Turkish and Hindi. Many Indian classics were also translated in Persian, Turkish, and other languages. Now, let's have a look at the art and architecture of this period. So, during the Delhi Sultanate, a new style of architecture developed with the help of Indian craftsmen doing Islamic work known as Indo-Islamic architecture. Its impact is clearly visible in the monuments of that period. The earliest examples of this architecture are Qutub Masjid or the Quwwat ul Islam Mosque and Qutub Minar in Delhi. They were constructed by Qutbuddin Aibak, who was the first Sultan of the Delhi Sultanate. He died quite early, so Qutub Minar was completed by his son-in-law Iltutmish. Alauddin Khilji extended the Quwwat-ul-Islam mosque and built Alai Darwaza near it. This is a very decorative and impressive gateway with an arch. Tughlaqs founded many new cities like Firozshah Kotla, Firozabad, Tughlaqabad, etc. The famous monument of Tughlaq is the Ghayasuddin Tughlaq tomb. It is actually an octagon in shape. It is in front of the Tughlaqabad fort in South Delhi on Mehrauli Okhla or the Mehrauli Badarpur road. And the Lodi road and the Lodi garden in Delhi were also made by the Lodis, who were the last dynasty of the Sultanate. So I hope that you have understood the chapter Delhi Sultanate in a better way. Thank you.